Hi, folks. Yep, Sty's back again with another Sty story. Well, where should we go with this one, huh? Let's see. Here's one you might get a little bit of a kick out of. I hope you do. This one is this Sty story is going to be called "Tie That Chicken Around My Neck, Will You?" Okay, here we go. Now, old timers have all different kinds of ways of solving problems, you know. And one of those, you know, I listen to those old tales to try to get ahead of the game, you know. Learn from others' mistakes. I just had to check something on my camera. I'm hoping that this is working. It appears to be. Okay. So, anyway, like I said, I like to learn from others' mistakes. If they want to tell me an experience they've had that would save me from going through the same hardship, tell me about it. Yeah, I'll let your experience save me from having to go through it myself. Well, this is one of those cases where I observed somebody else taking someone else's advice, and it backfired on them. So you really have to weigh it, because you have to take the final responsibility for your actions. So if somebody gives you advice and you act on it, you can go back and tell them, "You gave me bad advice." But you can't go back to them and say, "And it's your fault." Well, you took the advice and you followed up on it. You're the one that took the action. Yeah, it's really your own fault. They just gave you bad advice. Well, okay, here's the case. This fella that I knew, he's a city fella, him and his wife, city folks. They bought a little restaurant back in my hometown over in Minnesota. And at the time, I worked for a tree service. And I drove a big log loader truck and ran the ground crew for this quite busy tree service. And at the same time, I had a little homestead out on a nice farm. Nice little farm. And I mean, and we were just homesteading. I couldn't full-time farm and work as a full-time tree service employee, because I was working 10, 12 hours a day for the tree service, and then I had to do my homesteading stuff on my own time. Well, we raised a couple of cows, and we had pigs. We had geese and chickens and turkeys and, oh yeah, all the critters, you know. Well, this acquaintance of mine, they had bought that little restaurant, and they decided they didn't want to live in town. They wanted to live out in the country, and they just loved the farm we had. So they went and got themselves a little hobby farm. Now, around the suburbs of big cities, you hear about hobby farms all the time. They think they're homesteaders, but they're actually just hobby farmers. To them, to have a couple of chickens, that's big farming. Boy, that's big farming. You're farming now. I planted a little 10 by 10 garden, and I grew a couple of vegetables. I'm a big farmer now. Yeah, me, I planted a half an acre garden. Yeah, and had enough vegetables to feed 10 families by the end of the season. That was homesteading. So this couple, they got this little hobby farm, and they don't have nothing in the way of animals. I mean, they don't even have pets. And they decided, well, we live in the country, let's get a dog. So they got themselves this really nice golden retriever. And it's a beautiful dog, really nice dog. And then one day I was at the restaurant. I frequent that restaurant for coffee and their big cinnamon rolls at least 2-3 times a week. So I stopped at the restaurant one day, and here's this acquaintance of mine, a guy that owns the restaurant, comes over to the table, sits down by me, and he says, "Never guess what we got now at the home place." I said, "What's that?" He goes, "Chickens." I go, "Chickens, really? What do you got, 2 or 3? He goes, "No, we got 24 chickens." I said, "That's a lot of chickens." I said, "I don't know what you're going to do with 2 dozen eggs a day, but yeah, that's a lot of chickens." I said, are they meat chickens, or are they laying hens?" "Oh, they're laying hens. We're going to collect all the eggs they put out. When they quit putting out eggs, then we're going to eat chicken." I started laughing. I said, "You're going to be eating a lot of tough chicken, because they're going to be old hens by the time they're done laying." So he was so proud of himself, they got chickens. Well, then about a week later, I was in there. And I sat in my usual spot at this big table that it was kind of like a common table. All the local guys sat around that one big common table. I sat in my typical spot, and I'm listening to a guy at the counter talking to the owner, to this acquaintance of mine. And they're talking about how to deal with a dog that kills chickens. Here what happened was, is this acquaintance of mine, he went and got his dog, his golden retriever, and his 24 chickens. Well, then the dog figured it out, I like to chase and kill chickens. So that dog, I guess, had killed a half a dozen of those chickens, chased them down and killed them. So this guy is trying to figure out, how do I get the dog to stop killing the chickens? I interjected right away and I said, "You don't. Good luck." I said, "I've seen it before, and I've seen just a couple of dogs that were broke, that managed to break the habit of killing chickens. But at least 80% of them, 8 out of 10 of them dogs that I am aware of in the past, never broke that habit. Once they kill a chicken, they love to kill chickens." I said, "Boy, don't let that dog get in your hen house, because he'll kill every chicken you got." He goes, "That's why I'm trying to figure out, I gotta get him to stop killing them chickens." Well, this guy he's talking to says, "Here's what you do. You take the next chicken he kills, you take that chicken, and you take it by the feet, and you hold that dog by his collar, and you smack him with that chicken 5-6 times, and then you tie that chicken to his collar, the feet. You tie that chicken tight to his collar." He said, "And you make him carry that dead chicken around with him." And he goes, "You gotta be kidding." He goes, "No, he killed it, and you make him carry that dead chicken around with him." And he goes, "Well, how long do I do that?" And he says, "Oh, I don't know, about a week." He says, "You want that chicken to get just nasty." He says, "Of course, you'll have to tie the dog up outside. You don't want him in the house with a dead chicken around his neck." But he says, after about a week, you take that dead chicken off of that dog, he'll never touch a chicken ever again, I guarantee it. Well, when that guy left, I told this acquaintance of mine, I said, "I wouldn't trust that. No, I don't think so. I don't think that's going to work." He goes, "Well, I'm desperate, you know." I said, "Well, that's up to you, but I don't think that's good advice." Well, I had been in the restaurant for a couple of weeks, and then I came in and sat down. Here comes the restaurant owner walking over, and he's got a cup of coffee. He sits down across the table from me. I go, well, how's it going? He goes, well, pretty good. It's going pretty good. I said, how's the chickens? He goes, we don't have chickens anymore. I said, oh, you couldn't break the dog of killing the chickens, so you just got rid of the chickens? He goes, no, we don't have the dog anymore either. I said, you don't have your chickens or the dog? He goes, nope. He said, I took that guy's advice. I said, I was afraid you were gonna. I said, how'd that work out? He goes, I thought it was working out fine. He says, I went home, and sure enough, that dog had killed another chicken. I picked that chicken up, and I beat the dog with it, and then I tied that chicken to his collar, and he carried that dead chicken around for a whole week. He says, and I mean, that chicken was getting nasty. The feathers were falling out of it. And he says, when I took the chicken off of his collar, he said, I'm sure it had worms in it. I said, oh my gosh, man. I said, that's terrible. He says, but I was certain that dog would never, ever want anything to do with a chicken again. And I said, well, why'd you get rid of the dog and the chickens? And he goes, well, we came into the restaurant the next morning. He says, I took that chicken off the dog the night before. And the next morning, he said, we headed into work. And he said, our daughter, he had 2 kids that they were adult children. He said, our daughter stopped at the house for something, and the dog got out, and she couldn't get him to come back in the house. So she called us, and I told her, just let him, you know, he's not going anywhere, just let him run loose, we'll be home in a few hours. And he says, when we got home, he said, we had 17 chickens left when we went to work that morning. He said when we got home there were 17 dead chickens all over the yard around the house. None by the chicken coop, none anywhere else on the farm place, but all around, right around the house. 17 dead chickens. And he says, the golden retriever was sitting on the front step, and he said, if I've ever seen a dog smile, that was the moment. He said, that dog was smiling at me. And he says, and I'd swear if he could have laughed, he would have. And he said, to top it off, he didn't say it, but I read it all over his face. Oh, tie a dead chicken around my neck, will ya? He said, I guarantee you, what it was is that dog figured, I'm never having a dead chicken tied around my neck again, unless it's 17 of them. I'm going to kill every one of them chickens, and then let's see him try to tie all 17 around my neck. So, there you are. Tie a dead chicken around my neck, will you? I think the guy that gave the advice gave it with good intention, but it definitely backfired. The dead chicken around the dog's neck, in that case, surely did not work. So that poor fella and his wife had a nice little hobby farm. They grew a nice little garden and never had any pets and or livestock of any kind after the chicken incident. So there you go. There's a nice story for you. Thanks for sitting in. And we'll get on to another one here soon. So I'm going to take a little break, and then I'm going to probably do another one tonight. So, like I said, thanks for tagging along. I appreciate it. Hey, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and jump on there. Hit that subscribe button. Yeah. So, until the next time, this is Stein North saying, don't tie a chicken around his neck. No, you all have a nice day. Bye-bye.